Holy cow. The adventure is over. I'm done. I'm still out in the middle of nowhere, got to my pickup. I broke the ramp to get my quad back in the truck. So I had to jimmy a thing using my backpack and the spare wheel and the broken ramp, and strung a cable across the front of the box of my truck. And I used the quad winch to slowly winch the quad into the truck. And then once I was done that, I got it in. And then I went to drop the spare wheel in between the quad and the back cab of the pickup and blew out my back window. One of those days. Here I am. It's like I need a timeout. A little timeout. Oh well, shit, it happens. I just have to find some tape somewhere tomorrow morning in town somewhere before I start my day and a half journey home. Of course, the temperatures are dropping. I don't know how cold it is right now. My fingers were sticking to the hook in the quad. And shit happens. There's a lot more nasty things going on in the world with other people, especially with the floods. I don't have too much to complain about if that's the worst thing that can happen to me right now. So what's the recap of my adventure? Altogether, I was gone, 3 weeks, I think, almost. I saw wild bison, bull moose, cow moose, calf moose. I saw probably 20 bull elk, handful of cow elk. I saw huge grizzly tracks. I'll bet you I saw at least 250 deer, mule deer, whitetail deer. I had 3 chances at 3 real big bucks without ever hunting this area ever before for deer, so that was exciting. That was fun. I had a lot of fun. Got a lot of cool stuff on video, got a lot of cool stuff with trail cameras. And I got in shape, got to beat the crap out of myself, which I need. I need to beat myself up and stay in shape out here in the real world. It keeps all of my natural senses sharp, I feel. Keeps my mind sharp. It enhances my bullshit filter for the rest of what's going on in the world today. I gain knowledge when I do this. It's a very healthy thing, and it's something I just need to do. Sarah thinks I'm crazy a lot of the times for some of these things I do to myself, but it is what it is. While I'm here, I'm gonna get my last couple of email shares. I'm gonna try to get a couple email shares just because I wanted to get that done today as well. And it really bothers me if I don't get done what I say I'm gonna do. It's just something that I've got in me, and damn it, I'm gonna blew the back window of my truck and not got a buck and broke my quad ramp, and I couldn't get home for too long because of the floods. So I'm gonna get these shares out before I go. So, who do we have that needs to be heard? Here we go. Hey Steve, my name is Josh. Watch your channel for a bit now, and I thought I'd share 2 brief stories from Southwest Michigan. Where I'm from is not incredibly rural, but there are plenty of places where you could walk for miles and not see another human or building. My first experience was when I was 9 or 10 years old, and I was staying at my grandparents'. Their house was a single story, however, it was built into a hill, so in the guest room I was sleeping, the window was roughly 7 feet from the sloped ground beneath. I woke for whatever reason and rolled over towards the window and across the room, and when I naturally looked toward the window, I saw what appeared to be a broad-shouldered man looking in the window at me. I remember being instantly paralyzed with fear when my eyes met its. It didn't move, and I stared for what felt like minutes, but I'm certain it was only seconds. When I finally had the courage to roll over and pretend it wasn't real, I did. I remember waiting for what felt like hours before looking back at the window, and there was nothing but moonlit pasture to gaze upon. I've never felt that paralyzing fear before, and I've been in some sticky situations. My second happened within a year of the first. Can't remember for sure, being 20 or so years from now. But I was camping out with a good friend who shared my enthusiasm for the outdoors, hunting, fishing, and just enjoying nature. My parents didn't have a problem with us going to the woods for a whole weekend and coming back on Sunday, stinking of campfire smoke and looking like we'd been away for 2 days. Ha. But one night while sleeping in a stick-built fort, I awoke to softly crunching leaves and small snapping twigs. I could tell what was walking was of fair size because it seemed like it was trying to be sneaky, but the underbrush and its mass didn't allow silence. I heard an incredibly loud and shrill screech that happened 3 times. I was amazed that my friend didn't immediately pop up from the noise, but he slept on like nothing was happening. I was frozen at first, but quickly recovered from it this time and shook my friend. He slowly woke up like I was doing him a disservice by waking him, and during that 10 seconds or so, I could hear heavy footfalls leaving the scene. To this day, I've only heard that sound a couple of times, and it has always been while out at night, sitting silently and always far off. But that night, it couldn't have been more than 20 feet from where I lay. I could feel the sound, not just hear it. Thanks, Steve. I've enjoyed your hunt stories and the encounters. Maybe one day I'll be able to be a client of yours. How far out are you booked? Thanks, Josh. I don't book hunts, actually. Uh-oh. Lights just went out. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm not an outfitter. I'm a guide. I don't own a guide territory, so I don't book hunts. When I was more active, I could approach various outfitters with past clients and buy tags and buy the hunt and guide it that way. And that's one thing I could do, but I just don't have time for guiding anymore. Currently, I do miss it dearly. Who knows? Maybe one day I'll do it again, but right at this stage of the game, I'm not guiding right now, okay? Fishing might be another story, salmon and halibut. But thanks for that share, man. And if you come across any more information, anything happens, make sure you email us and get it to us, all right, if you feel it'll help somebody. Who else do we got here while I'm here? How much time do we got? Child rescued. Hey man, want to drop a story I heard from my grandma and some of my own experiences. My grandma visited her uncle's logging camp in the 50s around Hoquiam, Washington, when she was a little girl. While camping deep in the woods one night, one of the other girls wandered off into the woods. The girl was 5 years old and completely vanished. The next morning, right before sunrise, the child wandered back into camp and told the adults a tall, hairy angel kept her warm and brought her home. I lived in Ferndale, Washington off and on, and as a kid, and had some weird things happen there. Ferndale is in Whatcom County, where there's a long history with the being. You can even catch some jail time for killing one. Anyways, my grandma lived on a large lot nestled in the rural farm areas of Ferndale, about a mile from the Nooksack River. One night when I was staying at a friend's house, something ran around the house, slapping the trailer really hard. I wasn't there to experience it, but my grandma never lied to me. I'm not religious, but she used to make me swear on a stack of Bibles over anything, so being honest was really important to her. A few years later, in my teens, I was riding my four-wheeler across the street in a gravel pit, and I found a deer ripped in half from the waist down. There wasn't any vehicle access, so it's hard to imagine a car hit it and drug it itself off over the wall to the pit. I couldn't see any blood, and the upper half of the deer was still intact. A few months later, I found a king salmon down on the river on our property that looked like it had a clean fillet cut on one side, but the rest just left to rot. There wasn't any vehicle access to the river from out property. We always rode the four-wheelers down to fish, so it's not possible a neighbor wandered into our property. We were miles away from any neighbor, plus they all had their own access to the river. Well, that's interesting. It's kind of weird about the wastefulness sometimes with these beings with game, isn't it? It's kind of weird seeing a lot of things hung up in trees, people seeing that, taking pictures and reporting it. Thanks for sending that in. If anybody else around the Nooksack River might kick it into gear for you to email in what you might know about that area too, right? Out for a smoke at work. Hello and thanks for what you do. I'd like to keep it short and to the point. I work at a factory on the border of southern Maine and New Hampshire. The place is a quarter mile down a private road and surrounded by woods and a couple of cornfields. There are only 3 people on at night, and I'm the only smoker. On February 4th, about 7 p.m., I was standing out front of the place having a cigarette, and I seen 2 lights about the size of a football on an end and about as bright as a lighter when it's lit. What I saw was in the tree line looking down the driveway of the business about 100 yards away from me. I thought it was odd and kept watching, and then saw a man-like silhouette that was about 8 feet tall with absolutely giant shoulders, probably about 4 feet wide, walked from where I had seen the lights. I watched it walk about 25 yards from right to left. It was following the tree line going up the private road towards the town road. I didn't think they would be around here, but I guess they are all over the place. Who knows? No feelings, no smells. I don't know if it cared that I watched it. If you have any questions, feel free to email. Thanks. Dan T. from Rollingsford, New Hampshire. Dan, thanks for that share, man. I wonder how many people, I was thinking about that earlier, you know, when a lot of the people who held the camera time more than anybody else on the topic and didn't really seem to care about all of you very much, only themselves. Isn't it amazing how many times they must have heard these exact same stories about the lights, about these things vanishing, about tracks disappearing, speech. And still they tried to tell the public, well, it's probably, you know, there was a Gigantopithecus way back when, and we feel it's probably one of those, without ever mentioning all of your stories and the true facts that came with them, including the lights, right? Isn't that bullshit? Doesn't that kind of piss you off a little bit? It does me. That's why we're doing this, right? But anyway, there you go. You know what? Let's do one more. One more. I'm still warm enough from my wrestle with the quad. Oh, man, I'll tell you what. Thanks for sending that in, man. Appreciate it. And send more if you ever come across any more, all right? Especially if it's going to help somebody. What I know. Hey, Steve, hopefully this won't be too long, but here it is. I ran into these furry bastards a few times, once rather recently, and no, not by choice. There are multiple areas around here where I could show you many, but whacking a 2x4 in a tree never works, nor do I want to intentionally look for these things. Name's Red. I live between the Olympic Mountains and Fort Lewis, and no, I'm not a hunter. Truthfully, hiking and camping just isn't my thing. When I was younger, we used to camp with my dad's co-worker. We had a grizzly and wolves come into camp near Roslyn in the early 90s. It scared the shit out of me. Yes, they were there back then. The Forest Service dude was hesitant, but finally told us off the record not to tell anyone, only after my dad's co-workers, who grew up there and knew those hills like the back of his hand, pressed him. Give me a hotel with a golf course and a bar. I prefer to consider myself a yuppie with hippie tendencies. I'm good on the deep woods. You kill it, and I'll cook you a 5-star meal with it. How's that? Deal? So growing up there were these woods that I would cut through to go to my buddies that lived in a huge gated community. I'm actually looking at the corner of the woods now as I write this, and it still gives me the chills. I spent a lot of time exploring that area until the day I got the feeling of leave or die. We have bear and cougars around here, but that wasn't the feeling. We live on the end of a bear trail and always had them around back then. But go now or something bad is going to happen was all that was racing through my head, and I didn't think I ever pedaled my bike home that fast. Now that I look back, there were trees across the road purposely set there, and all the classic signs of something telling you to stay out. But being an inquisitive kid, that didn't matter. I wish I would have known what I do know now about certain subjects. So for the first time, I saw the red eyes when I went to a, let's say, youth trade camp on a native reservation. Not to give out specifics of anyone out of respect. It was that or jail due to some poor choices I made in my youth, but they weren't the last to be made, unfortunately. But I learned a trade I'll never use, and it gave me time to chill out for the time being. Our nighttime residence lady, let's call her Mom, a sweet old native elder, who I think has passed since this happened, had to go check the water tower pump to make sure it was still working, and asked me to go with her. Since I was still up at 2 a.m., I said, why not? So this water tower is perched up on a small hill back to a wildlife refuge, then a mountain, and then it's millions of acres of pitch black. We round the corner to the absolute darkness when we hear this bone-rattling shriek / scream / growl, and we see these glowing red eyes. My mom looks at me as says, get the hell out of here now. He's been told to stay away or they will shoot him. He's a mean one. She said, those are the stick people, Bigfoot. Stay away from the stick people and the whistlers. The who, I asked? They are the banished slash crazy Indians that will lead you deep into the woods to let you starve to death or just kill you. That may explain some of the cases Pilatus is working on. Don't ever whistle when you're in the woods, and never whistle back or go searching for the sound. Don't hit trees or sticks together. She was dead serious. When I mentioned we were going to go to an area for a little day trip to a berry picking area for the natives, she told me to be very careful and had a concerned look on her face because when we got to the spot, it felt like a million eyes were on you. It just felt weird. I didn't leave the van. Don't discount the native story, learn from them because that knowledge is so powerful. There's a lot more she taught me, but there isn't enough time here for that. She was a cool lady. A couple months ago, I go outside for smoke, standing on my front porch, and I see two glowing green eyes looking at me from behind a tree. It is across the street, about 50 yards, give or take, probably 6 to 7 feet tall. Its back was facing the woods, so it was pitch black. This was not eye shine, because the light was emitting from its head. It looked like a bright kind of darker Mountain Dew color, which I could make out looked like Chewbacca, big furry outline. Eyes were like the size of goose eggs. They made their own light. Tripped me the hell out. Spaced about 8 inches apart, never blinked. I get very odd feelings / chills like I'm being watched when I'm out there and at night alone. It's not all the time, but I don't go off the porch without a hand cannon at night. I have something slapped the side of my wall just about head height laying in bed every so often. I believe once they know you know what they are, they mess with you, no matter where you live, even if it was named HGTV's #1 place to retire. You rag on money effort and all the other twats hiding the truth from us for a good reason. They are lying, dishonest, deceitful pieces of shit only focused on the almighty dollar. I know one farmer professor that had his reputation tarnished and name discredited due to their actions, just like what happened to Dr. Ketchum. It is so wrong what they do to individuals, yet get away with it. Mitch didn't deserve any of that. All the DNA came back, states it's human female, unknown male, from 10 plus separate labs, and all came back with the same results. The hairs come back as unknown species / human DNA. There's just not one flavor of these things, but many. You're never alone when you go out. There is always something watching your every move. I'm good on that. I mentioned something once on one of their sites, and soon after had a helicopter dive bombing a residence until Mr. Winchester said hi and waved. So may have just been an odd coincidence that happened 3 times. Nah, haven't seen it since. FAA had no record of it either. Odd. We all saw what happened to the toilet paper due to the panic. Imagine what would happen when some of these people found out the truth. The portals, the UFOs, the orbs, the missing time, missing people, the various different creatures. All this shit is related. The deeper you dive down the rabbit hole, the crazier you start sounding to yourself. Easier just not to dwell on it personally, but you can't sometimes. Just say a prayer, because I truly think after seeing glimpses of maybe different dimensions at times, or spiritual war, good versus evil, I don't know. All I know is there is shit that goes bump in the night, and I pray to God for protection when I feel it around me. And so far that's worked. That and the Glock is always by my side as well. Thanks for creating a platform where people can share their experiences openly and honestly. You cannot find that anywhere anymore on any subject, especially one this taboo in most people's eyes. It's sad me to hear about Mr. Macaroni passing. You never get over your furry friends. May God bless you on your hunts and ventures, brother. Be safe out there. What's the word on Zeus? Did you get him? Red. Red, thanks for that, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate the kind words of encouragement. And Zeus, the old buck, I had my time with him. It was probably one of the best times in my life to shine my own personal skills and goal. One of my biggest goals was to do exactly what I did with him. And he walked one way and I walked the other, and I have a feeling a big black wolf killed him, actually. So that's all I know about him right now. But anyway, thanks for sending an email in, man. I really, really appreciate it. And my cheeks are starting to burn from the cold, so now it is time for me to get out of here. I would like to talk more and share more, but that's it. That's the end of this adventure. And I can't wait to get back, because we got that video of the Sasquatch in the river that nobody's seen before. And we got to get that stabilized up. And the gentleman said they were going to send me a clip of a human standing up there and videotape it from the same distance away, so we can get that done the same time, right? And get out there and get it shared with everybody, and get everybody's voices shared immediately after that, and non-stop until everybody's heard. Here I go. Talk to you guys shortly.